I would have liked to just hear Mike go on and on. I first want to say how grateful I am to Jane Morrison and Agar, Jaick, for putting on and hosting this house party. I know, like practically all of you, you've been coming to these parties for a number of years. I have too. Yeah. Before I was a member of the San Francisco Tomorrow board, and long after. I mean, this is really what grassroots Sunday brunch politics is all about. And I have to tell you, this is the first time I've been the recipient of a house party, so I feel like I've arrived in some ways. And I want to thank also many of you for your ongoing leadership through the civic process at City Hall as commissioners, as leaders of nonprofits and organizations and electeds, and through the union labor. Everybody here who's really collectively worked towards advancing, I think, a very sensible progressive agenda in San Francisco. And I'm inspired by the fact that I can contribute to that larger objective by even trying to fathom following in the footsteps of Sheriff Mike Hennessey. And mind you, in my opinion, and I think you'll agree with me, this has got to be the most understated elected official that we have in San Francisco ever. So I use this opportunity. Not because he's endorsed me, but because this does give me the pulpit to shower, I think, as much praise that he has either deflected or has not been recognized because of all the incredible work that Mike has innovated in San Francisco. And more than ever, in this particular time, especially in the last few weeks, you cannot turn on your radio or TV and not hear about the issue of reentry now and prisoner realignment. Just last week, the Supreme Court, on a 5-4 ruling, kind of like a board of supervisors, 6-5, but on a 5-4 ruling, where they had decided to give Governor Brown the green light to move for prisoner realignment from the state inmate population back to the city and county, the counties of California. And what that does is spotlight the discussion about any one of the 58 counties who are prepared and ready to embrace this particular larger call to order of bringing back a population to our county jails. And this is where you get to showcase how San Francisco is so far ahead of many of the other counties in California and frankly around the country because of the work that was instigated on reentry and rehabilitation and intervention in the jails by Sheriff Mike Hennessey. And when he did this, coming into office over 30 years ago, you know, it was considered not sensible, you know, it was a lock him up and throw away the key kind of mentality that still, I think, is quite pervasive in California. It's treated like fringe, like so much other cutting-edge ideas in the past on social justice issues, economics, civil rights that San Francisco's been a leader on. But now, because of years and lessons learned, even the most conservative counties in California and their criminal justice system have waken up to see the merit of the idea of what reentry is all about. And this just throttles forward that instead of the question of reentry and trying to help somebody to turn their life around so that they don't repeat their crimes again, it's now something that we can put not as a footnote or as an afterthought, which is often the case when we're on this particular subject, especially when you have the district attorney or the public defender, sheriff, police, nonprofits. It's always sort of a back channel discussion. Now we have the opportunity to make this a full throttle, front burner discussion. And this would have not been possible if the foundation had not been laid by the work of Mike Hennessey and the staff that he has really well recruited. He's hired almost everybody except for I think several of the 1,000 people that he has in his entire department. And that says a lot about the people who believe in his agenda, the agenda of trying to advance smart on crime is one ends of the bookends, and rehabilitation on the other. And answering the larger call that I know any one of us in this room would ask for San Francisco, and that is, what do you do on trying to mitigate areas like in the Western Addition, Fillmore, Bayview, Hunters Point, Viz Valley, Sunnydale, Mission, Tenderloin, that also historically have more pronounced levels of crime, but coincidentally are also the communities that suffer the greatest economic disadvantage and injustice. And you cannot deny the correlation. of the population that returns out of jail. And unless you're a lifer, everybody eventually returns. And then look at how those particular neighborhoods are populated in a way where people just cannot get the kind of toehold that they would like to reintegrate back into society, to get quality housing, to be able to reconnect with your family, get a job training, and send their life on the right path. That's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to magnify and amplify everything that has been done by Sheriff Hennessey. There is no filling his shoes, but there will continue to build on his legacy and what this race is about. And I have opponents, and the opponents, I think, need to hear this message very clear. There is no going backwards. For the 32 years in the generation that has now been well established as a baseline approach, this is now where we build from here. And I'm completely honored and delighted to continue the tradition that has been, I think, so brilliantly started by Sheriff Mike Hennessey and the people of San Francisco, who have affirmed, I think, that this is the direction where to go. And I also wanted to say that to recognize the 800 plus men and women who are sworn peace officers, deputy sheriffs, and while the San Francisco Police Department rightfully as the primary responders gets all the recognition and attention of their achievements in public safety, not to dismiss that we also have a small army of people as well too. And I, as sheriff, will start to ask, I think, questions relevant. When can we elevate, or when can we include deputy sheriffs in ways that might assist with the larger public safety objectives of like community policing, or assist when there's staffing deficits at the police department, knowing very well that while we are obligated to take care of the needs of the sheriff's department, we also have a small army of motivated men and women who want to contribute to that larger objective too. And using the administration, my administration, I will continue to advance all those objectives because this is about keeping San Francisco neighborhoods safe, and it's about advancing, I think, the kind of progressive concepts that people feel very strong about of what it means to be smart on crime. So I want to thank everybody here, in particular Sheriff Mike Hennessey, Agar, and Jane, and everybody who's been such wonderful friend to me over the years, confidants, consuls, and people who just want to remind me to get my act together. So I want to thank you all for everything you've done. Thank you.
This one too, he just lifted